Hi, welcome back to the U.S. History Channel. Today we're continuing our discussion on the Unit 2 research project. So you should be at the third stage now, the collecting your research stage. You've already chosen a topic and you've already chosen your project format, what you'll create in the end, what your final product is going to be. So now we're ready for research. So I want you to keep in mind as you're beginning your research that you need a couple of different types of sources. You need primary and secondary sources. So let's just remember that a primary source is a document or physical object which was written and created during the time that you're studying. So a primary source was present during the experience or time period. Here are some examples that would be considered primary sources. Original documents, so anything that was actually there, a diary, a speech, a manuscript, a letter, interview. It could be something that's a creative work, so it doesn't have to be something so formal as a letter or something formal as a speech, but it could be poetry or drama or a novel. But if it was created at that time, then it's a primary source. Photographs even work. So if you're choosing something like a documentary where the majority of your information is going to be told through pictures and photographs from the time, almost all of your resources and research is going to be in primary sources. Relics or artifacts, things that you could actually touch or hold, clothing, furniture, buildings, things like that, that would be a primary source as well. So here are some good search words when you're looking, because we all use Google or a search engine. So when you're looking for primary sources, here are some ideas. So you can put something as easy as primary source for, in quotation marks, your topic, and see what you can find. You can look for charters, correspondence, meaning letters, diaries, early works. All of these are little buzzwords that you could use to put into Google that might yield you some awesome primary sources when you're searching. Okay, so almost everything else that you're going to find is going to be considered a secondary source. Secondary sources are anything that interprets or analyzes a primary source. These are always created after the event has occurred. So things like textbooks, magazine articles, encyclopedias, anything that isn't a primary source basically is going to be a secondary source. It's a commentary on that item from the original time, okay? So almost anything else that you find, because it's written by somebody that's commenting on that time period before, is going to be a secondary source. But while we do recommend using Wikipedia as a jump-off site, so if you go to Wikipedia and scroll all the way down to the bottom, you'll see a list of a lot of links that those people use. Those would be a great place to go and check out for yourself. So we will not accept Wikipedia for this project as a valid source, though. You can use it to start your research and then branch off from there. But definitely, if you're using Wikipedia, just remember, and you put that on your bibliography, you will lose points. You'll have deductions for using and citing Wikipedia. Okay, so now what do we create with this whole annotated bibliography thing? How do we work on it as we're going, and what do we create in the end? So one suggestion I have is that when you are, when you are researching, so for this example, I'm pretending I'm using women's suffrage in the 19th Amendment, because that's specifically what I told you not to use last time, because it was the example. So let's say I found the National Archives, which is a valid resource because it is a .gov site right here, archives.gov. So it's a government website, so we can trust that this is accurate history information. And then if you look at this here, all of these are primary sources, the documents here specifically, proposing an amendment to the Constitution, specific primary sources that we can click on. Well, this is a wealth of knowledge here. So I could bookmark this if I wanted to organize it that way, or I could just copy and paste the link right here and throw it into a Word document and just keep track. Because I might not end up coming back and reading all this if I'm just in the early stages of research. So however you want to organize that. But if I know for a fact that I want to use this, for instance, I'm using this document, here's the information about it. If I want a transcription of it, meaning I want it all read out to me, I can click here, or I just want to look at it. Here we go. So this is a primary source right here. So now I need to cite this so I can let my teacher know what resources I use and what I learned from this. Well, you can use a site called, I'm going to copy and paste this link. You can use a site called easybib.com. All right, EasyBib is a web, a citation generator, and as you continue on in your educational career, you'll be able to switch this and use APA citing or Chicago citing, but we use MLA. So you can just cite it by copying that website link right here and cite it. It'll ask you a few more questions, and it says it didn't give us that it was electronically published and the author. So if at this time I know that information, I can add it. Okay, so if I was able to find an author. So for that specific thing, I might be able to, since this is, I could probably put it as an author of Elizabeth Cady Stanton was the actual author. So I could put that in here. But I'm just going to show you. So it's electronically published, meaning it was on, it's not created by the web, so this I might just leave off. But anyways, at the end, I can create the citation, putting in as much information as I have, and right here is what I need. Here's my citation. All right, so then once I got that, okay, I can copy and paste it just there. Now you'll also see that this has what's called a hanging indent, which is exactly what you need for MLA format. You want them almost backwards. So instead of indenting the first line, we want the first line to stick out with a little tail, and then all the other lines below it to be indented in. And this is all the information. Oops, maybe this is what we'd want instead. That's still not keeping the formatting, so we'll have to play around with that a little bit later. But what you can do also is save for later. So what you can do here is save it so that you have a bibliography created online, and then as you compile your sources, you can go back to here and it will have all your bibliographic information. So let me just show you a couple of examples of what has been turned in. So this is an example of an annotated bibliography. Let's look at that word annotation. An annotation means just a description. So we're looking for you to tell us how you've used that bibliography source, how you've used it, what did you learn from it, and why was it important to your research. So you're looking for about 2 to 3 sentences explaining that information. So this person here had sources. Well, first of all, it looks okay, so this looks like a secondary source here. So secondary source, primary source, secondary source. I'm not sure about this. So they're just they just put the link here and then they chose the annotation. They put the link and then they did the annotation. Now this would be a good thing for you to create right off the bat as a beginning step, but this isn't a formal annotated bibliography. You will then need to change each one of these. This person would need to take these and then turn them into actual bibliography in proper MLA format. So I have a final example of what this student created of all of the sources that they used. Okay, so here's an easy secondary source that a lot of people overlook. Your textbook, The American Odyssey, everybody has it. So you can use that. So look at the description. This is a secondary source. This source helped me understand Jefferson's beliefs and why Napoleon wanted to sell the Louisiana Territory. I also use this source to understand and get more information on the Manifest Destiny. That's it. We want to know what you learned from this source, why you use it, if it is primary or secondary. Don't separate your sources as in, let's group them all the secondary together, let's group all the primary together. All of them should be on your bibliography together. The one thing that this does have that it shouldn't have is this numbering. So that would be the only thing I would take out, and then this would be perfect. So if we took out all the numbering on this, it would be perfect. Okay. But you will notice that each of the sources, so we take out the, that doesn't work. So it's A, D, D-E, J, so they're all alphabetized. And that's why they hang out, okay, because that gives us the tip that they're a new source here. So that's what you want it to look like at the very end, okay, of all the sources that you have used. And when you have this created and explaining why these are all the annotations, why you've used it, and then the correct MLA formatted site, this is your annotated bibliography. And remember, you need 2 primary and 2 secondary sources, so a total of 4 sources. But if you use more, we want to know what you used, so put it onto your site. That's why this one is so long. Another good site, if you want to do it by yourself, you could just Google MLA format, and then this is the first one that comes up. The OWL Writing Lab, the online writing lab from Purdue University. This is one of my favorite places to go. If EasyBib isn't working out for you, you can always go here because it tells you, so paper, what your paper should look like. But then it also tells you how to cite specific things, so periodicals, books, electronic sources, other common resources. So if you're doing an interview or an entire website, all of this would be a great thing to use. Now, one last tip here. Google itself, google.com, is not a source, all right? This is a search engine. So if I want to type in 19th Amendment, here we go. All of these information, these are sources. National Archives comes up second, okay? If I went to images and used the 19th Amendment for the images, I don't just search google.com to cite my images. You would have to go and follow the link all the way, because I'm going to use this picture. You follow the link all the way to the website, and then you would cite the web page. And if they got it from somewhere else, then go to their original source and credit that source for having the picture. Again, if you have any questions, please contact Mrs. Carr or myself, and we are happy to help you. This can be tricky, but it doesn't have to be super hard. All right, thank you. Bye-bye.